Hey.
Hey, there he is.
I
Oh, my head. I forgot I put it there.
love your studio setup.
Hey, thanks. It's totally unproduced.
Where's the box of cornflakes? You gotta have that. Just
Cornflakes.
for me. Just for
Kellogg's
me, have
cornflakes.
cornflakes. Yeah,
I got them right here. I should have wore a Kellogg's cornflakes T-shirt instead of
I know.
Mickey.
Cornflakes is my one of my huge ones. I'm working on. I want to do a video. It might be my last one, just like we always talk about the way we're gonna go out.
I know
But I'm gonna
everybody
do
says
like
that.
my top 200 ones that really blew my mind because it's starting with the ones that are just absolute. There's no doubt in my mind what I saw and going from there. But because there's a bunch of them out there that I've got a little bit of if like maybe not, but there's a good group in the beginning where I was living in a different place. I was watching it.
Yeah, I was going through all kinds of things, and when it start, can you hear me? Okay.
It's a little quieter than it was when we were on our call, on our phone call.
Let's bring
But
it
I can
in.
still hear. Yeah, that's better.
All right.
And
Lose
Mike,
it.
I
Lose
don't
it in
have a
my
fancy
face. This would
mic.
be good for the show.
Yeah. I don't have a fancy mic like that. I've just got a little cheapy mic in my little Samsung phone.
Oh, that's all you're on. You sound pretty good for all that.
Yeah.
I know I got a piece around here that might bring it in. I don't know. All right. Anyway, I remember, I think for me, this started in 2012. And I just felt like it was losing jobs, losing relationships, residents.
Mm.
Everything was changing for me.
Yeah.
And I really think that's part of the process. You start to go through that. That's a good thing. And we
Yeah.
were talking about people who, were having some losses out here in the Mandela affected world, and that's part of the process. I say go through it.
Hmm.
I mean, I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from all that.
Yeah. It's I know a lot of people it's caused a lot of turmoil when it hit me when it hit me in 2016. I was ready to I was ready to walk away from my job and everything. I was willing to go just off into the woods by myself. I was right there. It was it's amazing that I didn't. I did end up changing jobs, which was a
Okay,
good move.
so you went through some of that.
Yeah, it
I
was a
mean,
good move for me, especially after after I poisoned the water by talking to like 500 people about this stuff every day at the old job.
hmm.
They're probably still talking about how crazy I was.
every casino I worked in since this I started to be affected, I just totally started talking about all this stuff, and it would always come back to flat Earth, and
Did it?
that
Yeah.
bothered me because now I'm destroyed because I don't have any
Mhm.
evidence one way or the other, and I'm not going to discuss this with
Yeah.
people because I don't know, I don't care. It is what it is. It's my perception, and I know there's a lie there, and it's like I just back off once. What do you mean you think the Earth is flat? I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
What
I've
do you
always
mean?
thought it was pretty interesting, but the Mandela effect itself was so mind-boggling to me that I never actually spent any time doing any research. Of course, Dan's told me plenty of stuff,
So
but
why
he's
is the Mandela effect so connected to flat Earth? I mean, for
it
me,
is
they both came
interesting.
out at the same
Yeah,
time.
they really did. It's kind of odd that both of them were so like such of a surge. I my theory from the very beginning. We're getting into our theories already, but when all this was happening and I saw the environment around me morph and change, physically seeing things change right before my eyes, I started drawing the idea back then that I am living in some sort of a dream or simulation, that this is not real. And I had so accepted that the whole idea that the earth was flat fit perfectly, because I was like, of course, if it's a dream, it could be whatever it wants.
Right.
At any given moment, it doesn't really, none of it's real or generates itself until I get to that perspective point anyway. So as long as I'm not leaving the earth, it's not even in full existence anyway.
Exactly. What's in our focus?
Mm-hmm.
That's
And to me, I just felt like we were in a shared dream. So I'm walking around with my own little bubble of reality that's changeable. And another person that I connect with has their own dream bubble. And sometimes we intersect and we share that dream, but we don't necessarily have to all the time. And I saw evidence of that too. So that's where I saw that I could be going through changes that could be very localized just to me, and other people not experiencing that, but it was still valid and I still knew it was happening. So
what about when I'm wondering if people can hear you?
am I not coming through
I
loud?
don't know. I think so. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
What did you just you just said something that all right, continue on, sir.
Huh. Let me see if this is any louder. Let me try something.
I can hear you just fine. It's just there's things up here on the computer that are not.
How about this?
That's fine. Actually, it was better the other way.
Okay, I'll go to the other one. Yeah, I need to buy a better
King Lazy
headset.
says, "Don't worry, we hear him."
Oh, good.
We're good. There you go.
That's good.
One hears you. One,
All
one,
right.
one, one. Look, that's the name of this show.
Yeah, that's a good name.
One only in one.
Yeah, it's a nice time of the night. I don't usually wake up this early, so that's I'm glad you were able to. And this is the only way that I can do this is my
when the
wife's out
family,
of town.
yeah, I was gonna say, family takes off. We could do.
Yeah.
But just let me know. Let me know when she's going away.
Yeah. Otherwise, our alarm clock goes off because her job, that thing goes off at 4 a.m. every day.
Ooh.
So, it's rough.
Well, you said one of your first Mandela effects was Kellogg's cornflakes.
That was early on, yeah. I was watching when I was first affected. First I prayed. I had this religious experience where I was talking with. We didn't exchange business cards as far as names, but I just understood that I was talking to my creator, and that was a mind-blowing experience in and of itself. A few days after that, I asked if I could be shown anything about reality that he would like me to know. And that same day was when I saw somebody who was dead, who I knew to be dead, was alive in a news article. And that confused the heck out of me. And I started researching and then came across all this Mandela stuff. And bam, 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 it was just one after another. So the first probably 5 months here, I spent every single minute. I wasn't sleeping. I was watching every single video and reading the Reddit streams and going into Facebook chats. And I was just trying to get all the information I could because I was experiencing the same thing that so many other people were experiencing. And during that time period, right in the beginning, I think it was Jacob Israel's one of his first videos.
Yeah, I've seen a few of his.
Where he was listing all of the Mandela effects, and one of them, and I was writing them down. I was keeping notes. I had like, 1,000 of these things written down. And one of the things that he showed was a box of cornflakes. and it was spelled Korn, corn. And he said, I remember it being spelled with a C, not a K. I mean, this video doesn't exist now. I mean, he never said this in his video,
Really?
but he in that time he was saying, I remember this being. I remember him pointing this one out to me, and I was thinking, well, I'm not 100% sure on that one. I can't say that I remember corn flakes being spelled with a C. In fact, it makes sense to me that they would spell corn with a K because it's a play on Kellogg's. It
Mhm.
from a marketing standpoint, it sounded right. And I even remember some time ago, years back, somebody saying that Kellogg's Corn Flakes was racist, and they circled the K's, the three K's, you know. And
Right.
and I remember also saying that seems like a stretch, you know. How can you accuse them of being racist? That to me that seemed like a foolish argument. Well, now the argument doesn't even make sense because you don't have the three K's. But I was at the grocery store looking at these Kellogg's boxes with a K. I was buying the product. It had a K, and I just could not remember if it had a C or not, if the corn was ever spelt with a CORN. And I did research, you know, I did my due diligence and went online and looked for the history of the logo and found nothing in the history of Kellogg's Corn Flakes where it was spelt with a C. And then my wife and I were at the grocery store one day. We're going down the cereal aisle, and every single damn box was spelled CORN. The K was gone. And I was like, what the hell? I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
was your mind too after that. I mean,
yeah, and the video was gone where Jacob Israel had pointed it out that it modified itself. The video that he had done was different now, and
yeah.
there was
See,
no, you know, I was in a different. It felt like I just left one reality and hopped into another one. It was so weird,
and that's the
and
easiest way to describe it. That's the easiest thing. I was
mhm,
talking with that about Noble. To me, it's almost like a cop out anymore.
yeah, I know,
That's definitely. Oh, I just shifted timelines. No, no.
right, right.
It's like you want to break up with a girl. No, that was the other timeline
Just
on
go with
wrong
the other one,
timeline.
right? I'll get girlfriend. I'll get Barbie too.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I have questioned whether or not I've questioned how many different wives I've had because of this.
Oh, well, I'm waking to wake up next to somebody and go, oh yeah.
Yeah, nice. But I've also had this dream trying to figure it out, and the dream explanation kind of merged both of my ideas of it being an individual dreamlike reality change state and like multiple realities combined. Like it was a merging of both ideas together that somehow worked.
That would make total sense, especially with the whole infinite quantum thing.
Yeah. It but all I can say is that cornflakes was such of a major shift for me. And then along that same time was the whole Flintstones with the T. It didn't have a T. When cornflakes had a K, Flintstones did not have a T. We'll put it that way.
Oh, wow.
That so when and then Hillary had one L at that time, and that was one of the ones that I was, you know, I was seeing her in the news every day. It was, you know, coming right up to the end of the election, and every day it was, and people were saying, I remember Hillary being spelt with two L's, and I even had another friend who said that he agreed that having two L's. I even did a video with him going back to it that it makes sense that her name would have two L's because he used to always say Hillary Killary, and that wouldn't make sense with her current name at that time. That's what he was saying. I was saying, yeah, I don't have a strong memory of her having two L's or not. And I was making this argument to people on a regular basis, and then on election night, her name switched to two L's. And I couldn't find those conversations online. I couldn't get people to remember that we had conversations. It was very mind boggling. And I didn't even call my friend back who said the Hillary Killary thing for several months. I didn't even think about calling him.
Gotta wonder if you shifted from the timeline where she won.
Right, exactly, because everybody was saying that idea too.
Sure.
It sounds like it was a good move to get out of that reality.
Well,
'Cause-
I heard stories about that. I don't know how real, true, interesting, how they would even know this information, but then again,
right.
people are
Yeah, that's
saying weird
true.
things now. But the story, oh, there goes my mic. Okay.
Yeah, when I hear about some people, well, there's just a few that, claim to have controlled shifts. I raise an eyebrow because I don't have that level of control over this stuff. It just I see it when I see it.
I think you do, though. I mean, in some form. I think you see it when you see it, when, yeah, you're supposed to be getting a message.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, I don't know. And I'm not doing good enough experiments with it to know, but I have
Yeah.
experimented, and this has got to look strange. So, I don't know.
I haven't
know. Go ahead.
I haven't been able to imagine, I the best way for me to compare this is to a lucid dream. And I don't know if you've ever had a lucid dream, but when you have a lucid
I had
dream,
one, and I remember it vividly.
yeah, when you have a lucid dream, I mean, it's really amazing when you have a lucid dream because in my lucid dream, I look around and I said, "My God, this reality, which I know I'm dreaming, is just as real. It's just as real as my waking reality. Everything, the sense of smell, touch, everything is just as real as my waking reality, except I'm aware that I'm asleep and I have the ability to force my will on the environment. So in my lucid dream, I can think about something and it'll just manifest. And it's an amazing feeling.
I did not
Now,
get that far with it.
yeah, I mean, I could just say conjure a sword, and my next thing you know, I'm holding a sword. I could say I want to fly, and I'm flying, and that's how the lucid dream would work, and yet everything else feels so real. Yet even the I remember this one lucid dream where I was walking in a very cold environment, and physically I didn't feel the cold, but the sensations that happen around cold, like the real loud crunching of the snow under your feet when it's super cold, and the seeing your breath, that was all happening. But I didn't feel, I wasn't shivering, and I didn't feel cold in that one. Probably because I just didn't want to feel uncomfortable. But everything was so vivid, and if I wanted to just say, well, I want to float, I just start to float. But I can't will that kind of stuff in this dream state that I'm in now, this higher level of dream. I can't seem to manifest stuff like that.
See, and
But
I think I have. I mean,
yeah,
like I said, there's no coincidence. I mean, the first example was last April 1st. I was leaving from here to Colorado to Arizona. I was going to drive. Big snowstorm coming in.
mhm,
And I mean, at this point, all I did was say no. When I leave here, it's going to be fine weather. I'm not going to experience any bad weather at all. Woke up the next morning.
hmm,
Actually, that night, guy's showing me, he's like, look at this, the Doppler or the weather thing. All of my town was completely clear, and everything around it was getting dumped on.
hmm,
I just laughed, went to bed, wake up the next morning. It's a fine day, cold, cloudy. You could see the snow once a fall. I get in my car, I leave, no problem. 3 days later, I come back. As soon as I open my door, get out, shut my door, it started to snow.
hmm.
And I was like, okay, coincidence? Did I just, and all I kept saying was, well, there's no repercussions because all I did was shift my consciousness into a timeline where I wasn't going to have problems with the weather.
Yeah,
And the consequences were there's no dash in Kit Kat. And there's only 4 slivers instead of 5 because it's funny. I remember somebody going off on that whole it's 5 slivers and Kit Kat. And he did video after video on it. And I'm just looking at it going, yeah, he's totally right. I remember
There's
five
only four, and there's
pieces.
supposed to be five.
I remember five, and there's always
Yeah.
been four.
Huh.
So, but I do remember five. I mean, it's like, and it's funny. I eat them now, and I'm like, I can't even finish the four. And as you notice, it was up here where the deer is. I don't know what happened to the Kit Kat. I got to stop eating this junk.
Yeah, it's weird. I haven't had any success with trying to make something appear, but I do feel like there's an impact on reality based on, how do I say this?
Focus.
From the very beginning, I felt like reality itself was reflecting symbolically messages back to me, like things about myself. So if I was seeing something in reality, it would be a cue to look at something in me, and they were doing a little dance between the two. And I started really working on, from the very beginning, changing. Well, I had a very pronounced born again experience. I was going around telling everybody that I was different, and let me tell you just flat out, I wasn't a kind person. I'm still not all that kind, but I was a jackass.
What?
Yeah.
Is this before you met your wife?
This is before the whole Mandela effect and surrendering to God, and just,
Really?
in fact, you could say that I had been living a very selfish line of existence for quite a while. And I saw no point to living except, whatever makes me happy, and to hell with anybody else. And that only brought misery. That only brought sadness. It brought me to the point where I didn't want to live anymore. And that's really where I had the whole surrender experience, where I just, instead of killing myself, I just asked God if he would just, give me a nice little heart attack or something, just take me out. I say, whatever you do, just do it quick.
See, I'm thinking, and that's where you shifted yourself. I think you did it. I mean,
I
you
asked
put
for
your
that.
focus there. You asked for it. That's where your beliefs are. That's where your feelings are. It happened. It's where your focus was.
Yeah, I remember that night very well. It was September 23rd.
Oh, stop it.
2016.
You're kidding,
Yes,
right?
it was. No, I'm not. I didn't even know September 23rd was a date that people were interested in.
That's big, dude. September 23rd.
Yeah.
I haven't.
So on September 23rd, I go to bed. And here's another thing. There's a guy who wrote a book. There's a guy who wrote a book that I like reading, and it's about all these experiences of people who have died and then came back, and he does hypno regression. His last name is Newton, and he's a doctor in psychology, and he wrote this book. So I wrote this. I was just reading the forward of that book. I just picked up the book off the bookshelf, the other day, and I was looking at the forward, and I looked him up online to see what this guy was doing, and he died like the day before of my September 20th. So I just thought synchronicity, kind of interesting, just making a note of that, because to me that was a pretty interesting book. Thinking that if this is true, that's amazing. But I digress. I was on that night. I was saying to God, just take me out, let me die, or just take over, because I just don't have the will to continue. And that's where the next morning followed up with a conversation with God that was more real than anything I've ever experienced. And from there, this whole Mandela effect. And I noticed that as I changed as a person, as I accepted other people for who they were without being the jerk self that I was, released forgiveness on a daily basis, and just learning how to forgive, to allow people to be themselves and not to judge them, to allow people to make mistakes, to allow people to be offensive to me and not be offended, was a paradigm shift for me. My worldview and my reality was changing dramatically just from doing that. And I believe that internal change was having an effect on the reality that I was living in. And as a result, we're a year and a half later now. My reality is a nicer reality. It's There's a lot less conflict in my world. It's an easier existence. So
I
in
agree.
that way, there's been an impact there.
I agree. Life to me has been easier because of where my focus is. I'm not
Hmm.
focused on the drama that I
Right.
don't need to be focused on. I start watching the news downstairs and I can feel it immediately. I'm
Yes.
like, no, no, click
Kind of
that
like
off.
drama begets drama.
Right. Well,
I
that's the thing. Where is your
Yeah.
focus? That's where you're going to, that's what
I
I,
remember when this first happened for me. My sensitivity on my spirit was so high that even being around a TV that was on kind of was like a I felt like a radiation or a pollution coming from it or just bad vibes. I didn't even like being around a TV. It's just weird.
oh, I
And
understand that.
but now I've gotten a little more dulled to it, but man, at first it was I was on heightened sensitivity and I couldn't sleep. I didn't seem to need sleep. I could go all week long and all I had was naps. That was it.
And
And this lasted for many months.
when I was going through those experiences, it was the same thing. 5 hours
Hmm.
of sleep a day. That
Now,
was it.
at work, I will admit, in the afternoon, it'd catch up to me a little bit, and I'd start wanting to nod off at my desk just a little bit. So I call it, I'd have a little power nap. But it seems like I always wanted to have a power nap at the wrong time. Boss would come around or something right when I'm having my power nap.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember telling Kevin, one of my bosses, he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, sorry, I just dozed off for a moment." He's like, we're always working on some project or some task. We got to get this thing done." I said, "Kevin, the whole world as we know it is changing around me.
Right. I was
How
just going to
important is
ask
this
you,
stupid thing?"
how were you dealing with it at work? Because when I was going through these things, they started, okay, and
Hmm.
I was blowing them off left and right.
Yeah.
My mind was totally, and I started to get affected. But I'm trying to, okay, it was August 8th. I took a voluntary layoff from work and I was fine. So I was not tethered to time.
Hmm.
And I think that was a big thing. And I really don't think I would have been able to deal with that stuff going on if I had to get up and go to work every day. It would have drove me nuts. Uh,
I went to work every day, but my productivity dropped a lot because I just didn't give a damn about anything at work.
okay.
I mean,
I could,
the whole getting stuff accomplished was still there, and I was still getting it done, and I was still functioning, but my heart wasn't in it. My heart wasn't in it at all. I was just going through the motions.
yeah, see, and I couldn't do it. I needed to explore, and I wouldn't have been able to do that at work. And I remember it was like May, June, July when I was experiencing things and didn't know it. One of the things that I do mention in the book was I was on a crap table with another dealer, and we're just standing there, and I'm explaining this Mandela Effect thing. And I said, "Yeah, there's some things out there that I'm just not sure about, and I can explain, but I think there's something to it." And this song comes on, and I say, "Hey, this guy sounds just like Elvis Presley." I said, "It sounds just like him, except it sounds like he's trying to sound like Elvis." The guy goes, "What are
Hmm.
you talking about? That is Elvis. It's one of his biggest hits." I said, "You got to be kidding me." And I would know. I knew
Uh,
him. My dad was into Elvis big time. I probably heard everything the guy did. And another song comes on a little later. He says, "This is an Elvis song too." And I'm like, "It's just too produced for Elvis to
mhm.
me." And I said, "I don't know, man." I'm like, Jailhouse Rock, Hound
Right.
Dog. That's his hits. He says, "No, he put this out in um, 1977, a month before he died." I said, 77. I said, Elvis died in 72. What are you
Huh.
talking about? And he's like, no, he died in 77. Now, when I was younger in my teen years, I knew my dad was in Elvis. Some kind of documentary came on about Elvis Presley. I sat and watched it. At the end of this thing, they were I remember it like I'm there right now. They were just scrolling down the end of his life and everything that went on. And it said, he had a heart attack on stage. They pulled him backstage and he died. And it was in Las Vegas in
Huh.
1972.
Yeah.
And
See,
that's,
and that's for me a Mandela effect because I grew up thinking, and I wasn't I wasn't as huge of a fan, but I honestly understood that he had died of quaaludes or something in his hotel room.
oh, really? Because I'm
Yeah.
under the impression that he actually died in his home in his bathroom,
Yeah.
ODing or something.
Yeah.
So you even have a different memory of his death?
Well, all I know is I thought it was drugs and that now they're saying heart attack.
Huh.
So that, that I thought officially he was pronounced dead because of the drug OD.
Yeah, I thought it was an OD.
But they're saying heart attack.
Hmm.
So that's the thing now that I've somebody mentioned that that's a Mandela effect. I was like, I'll have to look into that because I thought it was that he, that's not one of my highest ranking Mandela effects, but I'd always thought that he died of drug overdose. And if you
Oh,
look it
yeah.
up, it's saying that it was heart attack. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's plenty of Mandela effects that I'm like not on the fence with, but pretty sure it doesn't look
Yeah.
the way I remember it. Like Fruit Loops was one of my first cereals.
Hmm.
Something wrong with my mic? They're complaining about the sound. Fruit Loops. I looked at it immediately. I knew it wasn't right,
Hmm.
and the O's weren't there. Obviously, it was the word fruit.
Yeah.
And that was that. And then the next one was Rice Krispies with the K.
Yeah. Rice Krispies has gotten a little nuts. And then that blonde girl, that Tana, whatever her last name is,
Who's that?
who's like the counter to Shane
I
Dawson.
think I had. Yeah, I do know him. I've seen them a couple of times.
So
She's been on the show, right?
she's got her Mandela video of like the 8 craziest Mandela effects you've never heard of or something. And that video's like had over 1 million views or something. It's crazy. But she talks about Rice Krispies treats, but she spells it with a C. And I've wondered when she was doing this video, was it C at the time? you
Wow.
know,
I think
and
she
her
wouldn't have
video
made that
didn't.
mistake.
Yeah.
How's that sound now, guys? Any better? Yeah, I was like, seem to always have technical problems. At least the mic won't fall on my head this time.
Huh. I hear a little bit of scratchy, but I still understand you just fine.
Figure out what it is. I got to get that other thing over it. I don't know what I did with it.
That's another thing that was going on when I first was being hit with the effect. There was a lot of weird technical glitches that seemed a little too. I mean, they were timed just perfectly, and they were coming at me all the time, and it was that was nuts because
Well, you want that
things
back,
around
right?
me, huh?
You want that back, right? Wasn't it amazing? I mean, in 2015,
Yeah,
it was just one thing after another with me, and it wasn't just Mandela effects.
yeah. There was a lot of things. You're right. I was seeing more than just Mandela effects.
It's like
And
Mandela.
I was seeing what a lot of people call shadow people or demonic things. I was seeing that at a distance popping up everywhere.
You say that there was a lot of negative energy in the bar when I first got here. Just
Yeah.
back, I kept getting stick it out, stick it out. And I'm like, well, I really got nowhere else to go. I mean, I could just pack the car and go. Everything I own, I can still see out the back window of my car. Before all this, now I'll have to mail all this to you. I'll have to split it up, mail it out to everybody. But I remember a
Well,
lot of
negative
negative.
energy is a good way to say it because yeah, I felt the darkness around the planet. I was seeing these demonic things that were just manifesting in different ways.
And I hate saying demonic or I even negative
Yeah.
energy. Yeah, I don't like labeling these things
But
at all. But
it
I
was
must.
it was a dark time. This was the same time that the creepy clown thing was getting real popular. I mean, the people were going out there with their clown outfits and the corner hanging around with a bat. And it even
Yeah,
happened in my neighborhood. And we're
it did.
talking this was a nationwide phenomenon. It's like, what the hell's with all these clowns? That
Yeah,
was
that was
just
weird. How
weird.
did that end? Did they just stop?
They just stopped. Yeah, I mean, it was in the news every day for a while, and then it was just over. Like no big deal. But the whole energy around that time was very weird. People were very aggressive on the road with me. I mean, just overly aggressive. Always right on the bumper, always charging the car. It was a strange time.
It was one of the things happened to me when I was going through all that stuff. I was in a supermarket, and the place had a normal amount of people in it for a big supermarket. So I'm gonna have my problems now with me drawing this.
Yeah, now
Um,
it sounds like you're underwater,
oh well, aren't we all?
under the sea.
We start singing.
Yeah, we'll do a Little Mermaid special.
I was in the supermarket, and I would look down, 6, 7 aisles, and there's one or two people in it. Whatever aisle I was in, there was 30 people in. I would move. Again, that's got to be awesome. Can you see this?
Let me see. I wasn't looking at my.
Everything's falling
Yeah.
down. Everything's falling on me. At least I get a kick out of the chat room. Oh wow, that's all thinking apart.
It just fell apart.
That's the second time already. Why don't you go ahead and chat with the folks?
Oh, I'm on my phone, so I'm not seeing the.
Oh, you can't see this?
I'm not. I can pull my laptop up.
Whatever. You can look at it later when all this stuff's falling on me.
Let me see. I've had some interesting conversations with people lately. I've got to upload them. But I've been getting people that, huh?
The last thing I saw you did was about how many people do you think are affected?
Yeah. And I was getting that off of just that one video that was put out to debunk the Mandela effect and just taking the number of people that had watched it against the ones who had thumbed it down. I figured the all the down thumbers were people who were Mandela affected. That's a little bit of a speculation, but I didn't see any other people that would down thumb it. And that calculation was 0.1%.
Well, I figure most people are probably affected and just blow it off. What else is their mind going to do? That's what we did.
I guess the whole way you define Mandela affected is and I didn't define the word either. When I said how many are Mandela affected, I didn't define what I meant clear enough. So there's Mandela affected in that if you go around just asking people, hey, what do you remember, this or that? And 9 out of 10 times they remember things the same way we all do, right? So there's that percentage of the population. And then there's that smaller piece of the population when they look at this stuff, they don't just accept the update. They question it and they dive into it and they, like us, they lose sleep over it. So that was the kind of the percent that I was trying to figure out, which is tough.
Yeah, I don't know. I last person I talked to totally blew me off as I was doing some kind of hallucinogenics. I don't know.
Yeah.
he knew. He's like, yeah, I know about the Mandela Effect. It was all. He's like, yeah, we're all from a different reality. He's just blowing it
Laughing
off.
it off. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, what they call them millenniums. I told somebody else about this thing called them millenniums. That's just the way they are. They don't care. Someday we'll die, and that's the end of it.
And they don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blows my mind.
There's a bunch of people that are live streaming right now.
Oh, really? That's all
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah, it is.
Who's going? Who's that? Who's going? Do you know?
Here we go. I found you. We have Bluebeard that's live streaming right now, and also someone named S. Gilman is live streaming. So
No. Maybe they got some fun stuff to talk about. Yeah, I'm in trouble with this mic, but I'll figure it
and
out.
we have 16 watching. Cool.
Hey, anything over 10, I'm thrilled. I just figure there's people that are having problems sleeping from this, and they need to get on and talk to somebody and do it.
Jim Jones says, "Wiggle the cord."
Is that like relieving the owner?
That's wrong.
Come on, I'm like a half a centimeter off for a while. It's got to be pretty comical. You're watching me with the mic.
I remember another thing that was happening back when this was first all happening for me back in the tail end of 2016. There was a lot of computer issues for me happening around me, and also there was a huge like nationwide computer hack or something. I don't know if anybody remembers this. It's like half the country was hit by some computer hack.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, and on that particular day, I had all kinds of weird stuff go wrong. I mean, it was nutty how many things went off that day. So, and then I contacted my IT guy because I was seeing the news spin that was happening, and I was experiencing nothing but computer problems. And I had reported it to our corporate computer guy, and he said, "Oh, we'll get it fixed." And then I said to him later, I said, "Did you find a lot of stuff going nuts that day?" He didn't know what I was talking about. I said, "You didn't know about that big hack or anything?" And he was oblivious. I was like, "How can you be oblivious to this? This is your profession." You know?
Well, so when was this? When was this? 2016?
Yeah, at the latter part of 2016, around I don't know, it was October or November. There was some kind of major computer assault on this nation, and on that day, my systems went nuts. I had like no computer. My wife's systems went nuts. It was weird because we were really experiencing some sort of attack, but not everybody. So it's just weird.
Because I remember when I first started experiencing these things, after August, in the mid-August, I guess, everything broke down on me, lost the computer.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting everything from my phone. It was just strange. My phone was even giving me problems.
Yeah. I noticed a lot of Mandela Effect YouTubers seem to be going through a lot of personal turmoil too, where they were having to move and, they drop out for a while and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I really think that's part of it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's part of the process. That's one of the things we were talking about. Some people I really think it had a lot to do with losing or changing relationships.
Yeah. Well, I know that I had considered, I'm serious when I say this. My world was so whack. Everything around me was so weird. I had contemplated just going off into the wilderness for a while, just like living off the land. I was ready to abandon my employment as a facility manager. I was willing to just go off by myself for a while. It just was so nuts, the things that were happening around me, that I almost did.
Wow.
I was trying to figure out if that was something God wanted me to do or not. I was just trying to sort through this stuff. It was so weird. I mean, I'm talking about not just seeing the Mandela effect, but the things that were manifesting around me, the visual scene of things. And I'm saying to myself, this is impossible. This should not be possible. None of this should be happening. And I almost just like said, I'm done. I'm walking away.
So when you got the YouTube, I mean, I'm assuming
That was
that's
December. I started doing the YouTube videos in December. So for a few months I'm going through this, but I'm not putting anything online. Didn't even think about a channel. I was just trying to figure it out. So I'm like in chats, I'm on Facebook groups. You know Affected Collective?
I do know, I know the name. I could probably think
She's
about it. I'm
she's
sure I
got a
should.
channel. We were
Okay.
friends. We had become friends in the beginning and we talked every day for hours. I mean, sometimes we talked for 3 hours, sometimes for 8 hours. I mean, we were like on the phone constantly trying to sort out what was going on. She was a huge help for me in just mentally getting through. But I didn't think about doing. And then I was talking to her. I was saying, I'm seeing a lot of crazy stuff just happen right in front of me, and people are trying to call this all mismemory, but this is happening in the moment, like right now. Maybe I should upload videos just saying, look, this is not a memory issue. This stuff is happening right before my eyes. And she was very encouraging, said, yeah, you totally need to start a channel. And she hadn't started a channel yet. So, I started my paltry little channel, and then she starts a channel sometime later and just blows up in popularity. She's got like 30,000 subscribers now. It's just funny. She's done some really amazing research too. She was always a good researcher. And I think her most recent one, I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see the one about the 666 cold medicine that's always been around? Uh-oh, I'm talking and you're gone. Well, I guess it's just me. Oh, there's photo. I don't even know if I'm still on. Photo, do you hear me? Oh, good. Suso's still here. So, so how do we get you back? Talk about computer glitches. Yeah, I'm not hearing you. I can see your text. Photo, you might need to we might need to relaunch a new just a whole new group.
I'm sure you could see me just fine, right?
Yeah, now I hear you.
You can hear me now.
Yeah, now I hear you. You're back now.
All right. Well, that's a shame. We lost a viewer because of that.
Oh no.
Every week I have some kind of technical problem. How's the mic now?
It's great.
Well, for you, it
Yeah.
hasn't been a problem at all. Can't hear Suso, but here go. Oh, that's Photo. Hey, Photo.
Yeah.
Felix and is he good? I got a wrench. But yeah, it's funny how every single experience I've had, the Mandela effect went commercial. Flat Earth, I guess, went commercial too, right? I mean,
Yeah, Flat Earth was very, very predominant on YouTube.
and for me, that information was a Mandela effect as far as it came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It just like I like it, and to me, it's like okay, I shifted into a timeline where flat Earth is a thing,
Yep, that's the way I looked at it too.
and I
'Cause
wouldn't go near those videos, and they kept popping up, and
yeah,
I accidentally hit one, and it didn't grab me, and then I accidentally hit one. I actually decided to hit this one. I pop. It's this woman with 2 children talking, saying it in terms I can understand.
Hmm.
And I started to go off on that, but then I'd say maybe a year in, because I was walking around saying the Earth is flat. I don't care. What it is, what it is. It's about your perception, but it's not a
Yeah,
ball like telling you.
you know, I I saw the arguments, but it was to me it just didn't. I guess Mandela effect was just such of a bigger issue to me that I never really went down the path of it.
Yeah, and to me, it's a distraction.
Hmm.
You have the molecular structure of physical objects changing right before your eyes, and you have flat Earth, which is information that the Earth isn't a ball flying through space or whatever. I mean, to me, it was spiritual versus physical right there. I mean, why
Hmm.
would you jump into, oh my God, the Earth's not a ball? Why did it come out then?
Right.
And every time I would get into the Mandela effect in a big way, or a big Mandela effect would come out, something would go on with flat Earth. It would drive everybody towards flat Earth. To me, I just think, and I've said it before, the next big Mandela effect, flat Earth is going to blow up. It's just because it's a distraction. People can handle that. People can
Hmm.
handle, oh, we've been lied to, as opposed to physical reality is not what we've been told.
Wow, this is a new one for me. Somebody just brought up, um, and then he said is asking about water bridges, and I heard somebody talking about water bridges the other day, and I didn't look it up, so I just Googled water bridges, and yeah, that's a new thing for me. I've never heard of a water bridge before.
What is it? Bridge with
Yeah,
water
so
on it?
if you Google it, it's a bridge that like a boats are going across. It's water, and you just got a boat right across. I've never seen such a thing. That's a thing now, I guess, is water bridges.
Where are they located?
Uh, I'm just looking at the images. So, 10 amazing water bridges that have been engineered around the world, spanning from the late 1700s to 2000.
Hmm.
Yeah, so here's the thing with new information. We've been calling a lot of these things Mandela effects without 100% knowing, but here I am, I'm 50 years old, and I've never heard or seen of a water bridge before in my life. And today I'm finding out that these things exist. That's just funny.
And the only way to know if it's a Mandela effect, and it doesn't even matter at this point,
Right.
is to find residual. How do you find residual on something that didn't exist?
Yeah. Yeah. All we've got is, what stands out as odd at that point.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that, well, like I was saying, Affected Collective, who does these amazing videos. She puts a lot of research in them and then she puts them out. She's talking about the cold medicine, and the name of it is 666. And she's like, have you ever heard of a cold medicine called 666? I haven't. They've sold it in Walgreens and Walmart. It's been around 100 years.
Nah,
Yeah.
would have noticed that. And just thought, wow, that's weird and or
Right.
obvious.
Yeah, it's got such of a trigger name. I mean, the Bible Belt I grew up in, they would have been protesting a cold medicine called 666.
Yeah, so many things they have to change because of legal names and whatnot. You think 6 would have insulted somebody?
Yeah. I've always said growing up that I didn't see how anybody was going to ever actually take a microchip because it was so obviously connected to end times stuff and the mark of the beast. I was like, nobody's ever going to fall for that because it's too well known. But now I can see how reality can just change in an instant. And yeah, that people just say, yeah, it's time to get your mark. Come get your mark.
So that's the thing. If this is natural, I can see that because I've had experiences with changes. Where are we at right here? Listerine that's happened in the 70s for me, or maybe even 80s with that one. I'm not sure. McDonald's. I remember these things changing back in the 70s, which tells me it's been going on probably
Mhm.
forever. I mean, I don't, unless there was at some point in the 60s, 50s, 60s, because we know that they are 50 years ahead of us. At least that's what they leak out to us. So did they
Mhm.
have this start something then and then it started? I don't know. To me, it's a natural phenomenon that happens that they have started to manipulate. And that's why
Mhm.
we're noticing, well, we're noticing it because of the computer and the technology. Uh,
Yeah, we have the ability to compare notes now, where
right. Whereas
before the
before,
communication.
it would
Yeah.
have been impossible. I went through this whole thing in the 70s. I'm driving down the street and I see McDonald's changed to McDonald's. Now, when it happened, my only thought as a teenager driving down the street was, oh, they modernized the sign. And
Sure.
now I'm
Yeah.
okay. What if I thought, hey, where's the A? Oh, let me go look it up. Where am I going to go to look it up?
Right. Right.
Where's
Back
the
then, you didn't have the resources
and
to
if I
look
go
up
to the
stuff.
if I go
Yeah.
to the library the day after it happened, what are the chances I'm going to find that information in the library that they were
Yeah.
planning on changing it? I mean, they may have had microfilm and stuff like that, so maybe it's possible I could have thought, hey, they may be changing their name, but no. I would go there and probably see MC all over the microphone, right?
Right.
So that would have been the end of it.
It would be
And
hard to catch. Yeah.
and even if I did say, wow, there's no evidence out there that it was MAC, yet I know it was, who am I going to talk to about it?
And if that were the only thing that you really clued into, it might not, if impact you the same way. But when it's one thing right after another,
Oh, yeah, it's going to
yeah.
grab your attention, tell you,
Right.
hey, something's up, which made me think, okay, if it's natural and this is how we experience physical reality, and this information's been suppressed, we can all believe that,
Hmm.
and they start to ramp it up. They can manipulate it. They found a way to manipulate it, ramp it up, whatever. And I think a lot of it has to do with September and May,
Yeah.
right? March. I'm sorry, March, Aprilish, May. Maybe it is May. I think it's every 6 months. And not just that, but what you got the full moons.
The
And
three blood moons were pretty freaky. Like
that's
one
when
year right after another,
so,
and then you
they're
get the super blue blood moon,
right.
and then you
And
get this eclipse that's Xing the United States, which all of this stuff I never really was I can't say that I was into the astronomy thing, but that's a lot of stuff to hit us all at once.
yeah, I forgot my thought. Yeah, because we got a blue moon coming in this month. Another one.
Do
We
we?
just had one in
Yeah.
January. January 1st was a full moon. It was called the Wolf Moon. Then we had the second, January 31st, blue moon. And those energies were freaky right before that. I remember
Yeah.
things happening. And then after that, we got into February and everything was beautiful. And I hate even saying this, but I think of all of February, there was not a chemtrail in the sky.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing too, is I've noticed I'll go for like stretches of time where there's no chemtrails at all,
Mhm.
and then they'll just be popping up all the time. It's
There-
it's kind of weird.
But the whole month of February, and it was
Hmm.
beautiful. It might have been 7 degrees out, but every day felt like spring to me.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful, happy. The energy was great. And I can always feel it. And then I started to feel it coming in, and I like just recently, and I just said, no, I'm not going through that. And every
Yeah,
time I consciously turn around
I've
and say
noticed
I'm
that with
not
the
going to go through
skies.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
just the
then,
moon and the clouds have a different feel. And then for me, I had that one night where I saw a moon that was just like right at the half point, just a little beyond it, not much. And then by morning it was 97% full.
I
And we're
would,
talking like 5 hour difference had just passed.
yeah. David Lee, I would. We were talking about that I don't know where. I don't know if it was on one of these shows or if it was in private, but we've been. If you consciously say, "I know the ringing's there," it disrupts the download. If it's a
Mm,
download, if that's what it is, I'm using Nobleness D's terminology.
mm,
I've had it happen a couple times with me, and we were even talking about how I had a ringing in the ear, and then I disrupted it by consciously saying, "I know what it is, and I'm not going to accept it." And I had another ring come over on top of it, and he was like, "Ooh, I don't like that."
Oh,
But that's
I've had that ringing of the ears constant. In
yeah,
fact, in the last year and a half, I've only had like a 3 second episode where it went away, and that was weird because it was for 3 seconds I didn't have any ringing.
what you hear it now?
Yeah, all the time. I don't.
Really?
I've never. It's just weird, but it's constant.
It's that tendonitis or whatever. It's right. It
Yeah.
begins with a T. And a friend of mine in 2002, I think it was, uh, claimed that he was having that and shot himself in the head. Now I'll say, in my
Mm,
timeline, he succeeded.
mm,
He is one of the people that tried to convince me back in '85 that we didn't land on the moon.
huh.
And I just couldn't get my head around that. But we went through everything else. David Icke, Vladimir Valerian, as dry as he would speak. It was like we just ate that information up. His Matrix
Mhm.
2 book on aliens and stuff. And he told me one day, he said, things are going to start changing. Things are going to look different. And it's going to be like, that's the way it always was. And I'm like, Ron,
Wow.
what are you talking about? And he's like, one day the arches on McDonald's are going to be a color you can't even describe. That's how he was explaining. I guess what he was talking. I just assume now he was talking about the Mandela effect.
Right. What year was that?
85, 86,
Wow.
probably
Wow.
into the
That's
90s. Him
yeah.
and four others and myself would just sit around and talk conspiracies all the time. As a
Mm,
matter of fact, we were the group that studied the JFK assassination. We had one of Bill Cooper's
mm.
VCR tapes, and I wasn't first. People would watch it. They would keep it for a week, take notes, and pass it to the next guy. And then we all got together afterwards, and yeah, we were all convinced it was William Greer, the driver, turned around and shot him.
I remember
Uh,
studying it for a little while. Back in 2008 was my time to really look into the conspiracies, and I was listening to the old tapes of Bill Cooper and got into a lot of Alex Jones and then David Icke. But I remember that scene where the driver reached back and you couldn't tell for sure if he had a gun or not, but his arm was stretched out straight and it looked like, yeah, he might have just shot Kennedy right there. Now, this timeline, that doesn't make sense because the car is different. There's six people there and he never does that motion. But I
for
remember
me,
that.
he still turns around the same way he did before. But what looked like a gun to me in the '80s
Hmm.
is now the glare off the guy next to his head,
Uh,
who wasn't there in the '80s.
but he turns around in this reality, turns around with his left arm, kind of like doing the gun motion, right?
I'll have to look at them. Yeah, it was his
Because
left arm. That's
because
what he
in
did in the
my
first place.
old memory, he was taking his right arm and he was stretching it out straight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was a lot closer, like point blank range. It was boom.
Well, one of the other big things for me was that we all talked about the blood splatter, how it went straight back.
Yeah,
We're like, oh, it didn't come from behind him; it came from in front of him
right.
because the blood splatter went back. You look at that thing now; the blood splatter goes straight up.
Yeah,
That was a big one.
yeah. There's a lot going around. There's just a whole lot around that whole JFK thing.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think about that anymore. I don't. It's like that to me. Even though it was a big one, how much does it matter?
Well, you know what I think? Why is there a lot of Mandela effect around the JFK thing? It's almost as if the Mandela effect is wanting to be seen by the conspiracy crowd, because it's the conspiracy crowd that's looking at those tapes over and over, right? And
Right.
if you look at who really notices the Mandela effect, I haven't come across a person yet who doesn't have the conspiracy thing going. I mean, they're all 9/11 truth and all that stuff. I mean, it's try to find somebody who sees Mandela effects and is really into it, that believes in the official 9/11. It's hard to find
No, you
that
can't.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So like we said, it's natural. Now they're manipulating it. Now I'll say God is intervening and trying to give us clues. Why wouldn't God just come right out and tell us?
Yeah, I don't know
Maybe He
where the
is.
clues are coming from, because some of the Mandela effects that I've experienced felt more like a juvenile kid, like a 13-year-old who's messing with me. Some of
But
these things have been pretty weird.
if they okay, and if it's natural, and they harness this somehow, and they can manipulate it, and you got other people manipulating it like it's a joke. Because I really feel like we should turn around and say, okay, we're going to create something just to see if a bunch of us do it in a group and believe it's going to happen. We could take the apostrophe S off of Bush's right here and just make it Bush beans, like I think it was. Uh, I
Yeah, I
mean,
haven't had any success in willing stuff like that,
but
but
that's the
on the
thing.
flip side,
If they can manipulate it, why can't we? And I think if you
I don't know.
focus there, and the other thing was for me, the other thing I feel that I created was I really made a better spot for me where I don't have to leave. How could
Mm.
that have been set up so they can watch me easier instead of me running all over the place? Because I was just going to travel, pick up odds and end jobs and do whatever. And I landed this. This is what I created because I said, or and I hate calling it a formula because that's not what it is. I mean, it started out
For
as a
me, it was
formula,
for
but
me it was a
but
little different. And you know how we talked about that dark area where the energy was dark, and when all this was happening, the world was very unsettled for us. I think all of us, in a lot of ways, were connected with that. We felt this unsettling of our world, not just with Mandela effects, but just our personal lives seemed to be going through this chaos and this turmoil. And I was experiencing that for sure. But I just I went through the surrendering. I was like, well, God, whatever you want to happen here, I want your will to be manifest. What
okay,
is your
right.
will?
And
And
that's where your focus was, and that's what you got.
and it worked out. Yeah, everything worked out. I just kept praying. I don't know what is going to result here. I don't know what the end result's going to be, but I'm ready to accept your will, whatever it might be. And everything just kind of worked its way out, and uh, and it is a better place. So, but there was a lot going on there back at that end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017 for me.
I want to ask you, do you watch a lot of news now?
Not really, but I never did.
Yeah, TV shows and stuff.
No, but my wife does. She likes to watch TV,
Right.
so when that's on,
That's
oh,
what I was getting
drives me
at
nuts,
because
the
my
shows.
friend Photo Helix, I think he's going through that too, and I've dived into it myself. I'm
Hmm.
guilty of it. I'm sitting there screaming, "Stay away from the news! Don't watch the government stuff. It's all an act." If you're not focusing on it, it's really not real. And I
Right.
just that's where I focus. That's what my belief is. That's what I'm going to experience. And other people are like, no, you can't just not look at it. You have to know what's going on around you. No, I don't. Okay, that's not what my reality is. And I was talking,
Yeah.
or Photo was talking about. He was thinking about, putting this down. I've been thinking about it. You've said something. Scarab said something. We're all, you know, teetering on this. And to me, I think it's because I accepted some sort of program to where Okay, I'm watching a TV show now that I'm into, and I get excited to watch it. I mean, I'm just accepting a program,
Hmm.
and it's gotten me back into wanting to just experience this and say, heck with it. Let me just walk around like I know a secret.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if I want something, I'll shift into something I desire. And I should say a desire lined up with my heart rather than something I want. Because if
Hmm.
something you want, it's not going to go. And I said, you line it up with your heart. Where's God, guy? So that's what I say. Forget what's up here, go in here, and you'll be able to manifest. Um, Vladimir Valerian was one of the people that said by 2012 we'd be manifesting an app on our hand instantly. He believed that. Guess what
Yeah.
timeline he's in? He's living in a timeline where that's going on because he truly believed that, and that's what he's focusing on. And I
And
think
that kind of
those
gets back to what I was saying about the lucid dream. In a lucid dream, I can do these things. In a lucid dream, that's not so hard. But in this higher dream, it hasn't been so easy. But maybe maybe it should be. But I always get back to the analogy that our waking reality doesn't feel too far off from a dream to me. And the funny thing too is in a lucid dream, when you're having a lucid dream, the dream itself, which you could call reality, when you're dreaming, your dream state is your reality. The reality of your dream state doesn't want you to be aware that you're dreaming. It fights you. It wants you to get wrapped up into the dream. It wants you to be emotionally connected and fully invested. So it wants that amnesia to come back. And the dream itself will try to trick you and it'll try to throw you into situations where it'll take away your awareness that you're dreaming. And sometimes I
interesting.
feel like the regular waking life does the same exact thing. It tries to throw something at you to get your awareness off of it. It doesn't want you to clue into the fact that this is not real. And it feels like a lot of Mandela effects have especially where I've seen the flip flops. I've also seen blending and merging. So at first there wouldn't be any explanation for something that was really off. And next thing you know, out of the blue, it's blended and there's some type of a backstory that's been written in as if somebody gets on the computer and says, well, let's add this to throw them off. It feels like reality doesn't want you really cluing into it and it's trying to cover its tracks in some ways.
Interesting.
And I
Especially with the
think of,
dream state doing that.
yeah, the dream state does that too.
I guess it does. You do fight. I guess it is sort of a fight. I'm trying to think when I wake up and the dream's leaving me, and
The brain fog, right after you wake up, that brain fog, you start getting this amnesia about what was I dreaming again? And it's not too different than the Mandela effect. There was one day when I was seeing the spirits that were all around me where I clearly saw the cloud of fog around everybody's brain. It was like a little cloud that was on everybody. And I saw it clearly. And I said, my God, how do we get anything done in the course of a day? It's amazing that we get anything done with all this amnesia that's just around our heads constantly. And I
yeah,
could see it.
I do
And
feel
at
like
that time, I was very clear.
there's a lot of manipulation going on.
Yeah.
That's funny. It reminds me of when I worked in Atlantic City. I would be standing on a dead game watching these people walk by, and I could see dark. I don't know what to call it. Dark light over their head. It wasn't light. It was just a shadow or something. I could
Hmm.
see it, and that didn't last long. That was a strange experience. I just blew it off as you know maybe I'm a little psychic and I don't know it.
Yeah. And that was kind of like reminds me of some Stephen King books, where that people can see this like essence or something coming off of people's heads and stuff like that. I know I was seeing a lot of weird stuff when this all started happening. And
Yeah, it wasn't just a Mandela effect.
yeah, yeah, there was quite a lot going on.
I mean, with
And
me, I
now I've been
was
interviewing some people that are sharing experiences with like seeing ghosts or seeing aliens and different things as well. Just anything that breaks out of what's normal and what our experience should be. And it all seems to be connected to me. It just seems that there are people that are able to see things outside of reality and they acknowledge it for what it is, where
So,
most of the world just denies it.
so maybe what these other people are experiencing, that's the way that they'll be able to accept it. That's how their mind
Hmm.
will be. I had all the experiences with the star situation, the orbs,
Hmm.
that stuff was going on. I don't even know how I got back into the Mandela effect.
Yeah. I
That
did
was
have my own little experience with stars a year after the September 23rd, 2016 event. 1 year later, I'm at a retreat, a men's retreat out in the woods, and I saw two stars high up in the sky that were coming at me. I mean, they were just growing in brightness and intensity to the point where it was just ridiculous how bright they were. They're brighter than anything. And then they just kind of faded back, and then they disappeared completely. And there
wow.
was no movement. They were fixed in the sky. They just got super bright and then went dimmed out and went disappeared.
That was your star experience.
Yeah, and that was on September 26th. I mean, September 22nd, 2017. It was just about a year later.
Yeah, I've had something go on. I always feel the energies in September, and it works for me. I grab a crystal,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
I
you're the one who
just
pointed out the Star Trek crystal.
yeah, it's
Card.
actually I got to give that the hidden knowledge, and I
Okay.
think he got it from someone else. All I did was watch his video when it first came out, and I was just so upset about that. I
Well,
had to
it's
do a video on it.
funny because I was a real, Star Trek geek. I back back in college and everything. I'd seen every single episode and then watched them again when they came out on Netflix, you know.
Sure,
And
but I must,
I'd never noticed him carrying around a crystal. So
and I would
you think
have.
something, yeah, something like that, yeah,
I've seen every episode 10 times, and I've owned
right,
crystal ones that looked like that, which made me think.
yeah,
I walked around with a crystal like that for years, just very similar to Picard's.
right. And if
Wondering,
you're doing that, you're certainly going to notice it when you're watching the show.
yes, but
You're not going to miss that.
I'm wondering if in another timeline, I'll call it, I owned that because of Picard's crystal.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea too. Yeah.
Because all them years I had it, there was no crystal in those episodes.
Hmm.
And that kind of got me, and I don't understand why things get me anymore, why I get so uptight about something. Like the
Yeah.
yield sign. I mean, but
Yeah,
that was
the yield was yellow, and now in this timeline, it like was changed like in 1971 or something.
right. Well, let's go with the shape as well.
Hmm.
What shape is it?
What's what's supposed to be the upside down triangle, right?
It is. Right now, it is
Yeah,
a red upside down
yeah.
triangle. Now, when I was talking, I think God's Armor and Nobleness D, and I said, yeah, I'm talking about the yield sign, how it's a red diamond. When I keep asking people what color it is, and they've always said yellow. For six
Hmm.
months, people would say yellow,
Right.
and then people started to chime in with red every now and then. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, okay. So I'm looking at it one day. I'm driving down the street, and I see a red diamond yield sign.
Hmm.
I said, heck with it. I Next time I'm talking with somebody at the bar about it, and they said it's red, I say what shape, and they said triangle, and I said no. I pop it up on my phone. I show them on my phone, and they're not arguing with me, saying no, it's a triangle. I mean, I don't remember what I saw. I remember it was a diamond,
Huh.
more like a square on its side.
Sure. Right. Right.
But when I would show people these pictures, nobody argued with me. When I was talking with Nobleness D, he says, "Yeah, I kind of remember looking it up, and I didn't disagree with you because, but I
Right.
don't know what I'm looking at. Then I don't remember. Right? It's like that kind of. I think he
Just
said
like what
something
I
like,
was saying, that brain fog.
right?
It's like you latch on to something, but it's not as crystal clear as it should be.
And then when I was talking with him about it, I'm saying, yeah, I'm telling everybody it's a red diamond. I saw this guy at the hot springs, and he says, I've been in Colorado twice this year, and I've run into you twice in two different cities, and you're talking about this stuff. He goes, it's a red, upside down triangle. And I said, no, we talked about this. It's a red diamond. He's like looking around all confused. And I go home, I'm talking with Nobleness and God's Armor about it. And Noble went right to Google and looked it up. And he's like, no, it is a red upside down triangle. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no. So, and I know I videotaped one of them, and I was kind of laughing as I'm videotaping. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna show everybody this video. Well, when that happened, I said, I don't want to go near that video because I know it's going to be an upside down red triangle, and I did, and it is. And
Hmm.
I'm like, what I need is a 35 millimeter camera. I said
Yeah.
that instead of all this technology, let's go back to like the old cameras and start taking pictures like that because they may stay the same.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know the yellow yield sign is really still deep in people's consciousness, so it's hard to believe that it's been since 1971. It
19, yeah, I think I read 72 the first time I looked it up. That the last time it was used was
yeah.
72, and then I looked it up again a couple months ago, and I couldn't find any information on when they got rid of it. There was some information on they would use yellow here and red there, and so it's already changed.
Hmm.
But even there's 20-year olds, 22, I'll say 23, 24-year olds telling me it's yellow. Why would they think it's yellow?
Hmm. Right, exactly. Why would they even think that? They weren't even alive. Photos talking about something about how people are getting angrier at people who who see the changes. Like people don't see the changes are
Yes,
getting
yes.
kind of angry about it.
The
And I
kid that I
wonder if, huh?
yes. No, I was gonna say the kid that I ran into in the bar just totally said, "Yeah, I did LSD once." I'm like, "No, dude." He goes, "Nah, that's all the Mandela effect is. You're just misremembering it." He goes, "I believe you. I believe you." Yeah, but he was just placating me.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah,
like, "I love the way you think, man. Let me buy you a drink." Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like, no, you
Well,
just want to
alcohol
play.
has an effect too.
Yeah,
I remember when we had our meetup in Arlington, we came across this drunk guy who just kind of crashed our conversation. We were talking about Mandela Effect things, and he was kind of like that. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, I've heard about that stuff. That was
Oh
funny.
God. Yeah, well,
But I think some people that get angry about it, like really upset, I wonder if they're having some internal conflict because they
battle.
kind of know it's true, but they don't want to accept it themselves, and they're lashing out at other people. I see that with comments too. People get so upset, and I'm wondering why
Why?
do you care
Why?
if why does it upset you so that I'm
Exactly.
sharing that experience? But
Why are you
maybe
upset
they're
with
trying to
my
come to
memories?
grips.
Why are you mad
Right.
at my, that's what I remember. I'm the nut. Why are you mad?
Yeah.
But and this has happened before. There was sections, phases I'd go through at the bar. I would talk with people about it and they'd eat it up, love it, buy shirts, the whole bit. And I'm telling you, a full moon would go by, or some sort of shift would happen, and then all of a sudden people would be getting angry. I was doing videos on that. I was driving around in my car one time, and I was talking on the video about how everybody seems to be angry. Everybody was
Hmm.
accepting it. Now they're angry about it. It just what is it? Are we going back and forth? Am I just running into the wrong people? But it
Yeah.
always seems like I can tell. Like right now, if I'm at the bar and I got a group of people and I mention it, there's going to be one that's going to dominate the conversation to change it. There's going to be one that go, oh, well, maybe the guy that shot Kennedy was, who cares? Who cares who
Hmm.
shot him? The molecular structure of the car changed. You're worried about who shot the guy?
Right.
I, they go right to that, and they will
Yeah.
dominate and I just oh, I got to go take care of somebody else and get off the subject. But on the balance side of that, I have run into a couple people, maybe last week, that accept it, pick it up, and like, wow, that's pretty mind blowing. It's not really misremembering. Like, people, the Mandela effect is out there. People hear about it. Most of them are already wrapped up in physical reality so much that they're going to blow it off.
Yeah. Yeah. There, I think you have to be somewhat willing to disconnect from this reality to even see the stuff, because if you're heavily invested in the material world, it's difficult to let it go.
Right. And what did I have to give up? I gave up a job that I had for 27 years, and it was scary. This is in 11, late 11. And it was scary, but it was the right thing for me to do. And I knew it. And I bucked up and did it. Moved out of town, changed my job, changed the relationship at the same time. Of course, I was changing my residence. Everything was new
Mm.
for me. It wasn't easy. And I think a lot of other people that are especially Mandela affected people are going through these things. And all I got to say, if you're going through it, walk through it, which is something else that came up. I don't want to say who because I could be wrong, but they said, I think the only way to get out is to go through it, is to get
Mm.
to be involved in physical reality. It was nobleness
Mm.
to get to be involved. And, uh, and I'm thinking, yeah. And that's what I was thinking about. A bunch of us are trying to kind of feeling a pull to get back in. And I don't want to get back in. You're never going to get back in. You
Hmm.
can't be a cipher. It's not going to work. Uh, Even if you're
Yeah,
faking it. And
I know that
I,
sometimes I get, like, for me, this all started when I really was ready to get off this planet. I was done. I was really tired of everything. And as my world lightened up and brightened up and got better, I started to play around with reality a little bit more, start to enjoy myself a little bit more.
hmm.
So I'd have to say at this point I would not want to, and I have not, felt like that I just am ready to disconnect completely. And
Yeah, and
that,
then what? You
yeah,
don't know. You, I mean, look, I've had the one lucid dream experience. I've left my body. I felt more real out of my body when it happened 2 or 3 times. So yeah, I do feel there's something there. There's something after. There's something more. We are something more than just human flesh and blood.
hmm,
Uh, Ethan said something here. Yes, it makes me wonder if the affected are breaking a contract. And
yeah, that's
all
a
I
good
got to
point.
say is, how can you break a contract if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, and maybe there's something to the amnesia that we feel that we're not supposed to remember, but somehow we're breaking that that whole amnesia thing. We're breaking through.
So, how are we breaking a contract? I want to know what he means by that. And what do you think he means?
Well, I think because so let's say, and I could be misinterpreting, but let's say this reality is something that we all agreed to do. This was part of the whole experiment. The grand thing was to have this physical reality around us to experience what it's like. maybe, because in the spirit, it's not quite the same. The spirit existence is not, I don't think the spirit existence is as harsh as physical is, but the physical reality gives us a chance to experience things differently than we may ever have a full understanding. But in order to really get into the game, you kind of have to have this brain fog, this amnesia of what's what. Otherwise, you would lose. You would see, if you see through reality too clearly, you wouldn't be playing the game anymore. It would be just like, it's like the difference between playing poker with real money or fake money.
Right. That's a good analogy. I can understand that. And Photo said it's we who see are not affected because we didn't take the so-called, and I like that, the so-called download.
Yeah.
Is that breaking the contract? And
Well,
how?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not taking the download, we're breaking the contract. But wait a second, I don't know what the contract is.
Yeah, it's a lot of speculation. What's funny? Yesterday, I have the business I'm in now. I left the first place I was at, which was like a big city inside a city, and I told everybody about my Mandela Effect experiences there. So I ended up leaving, which was good, and I went to the new place, and I have not shared my experiences with people in the new place. But we do a morning stand up where we talk about the events of the day and all the stuff that we got going on. And I really steered it. I took that meeting to a whole different level, and I started talking about, what if our reality is just a simulation? What if we are Sims in a simulation? And I started pondering this idea with them, and they started getting into it and talking about, how would you know if you were just a sim in a simulation? How would you know, if you're a sim, what would you do if you became suddenly aware that you were in a simulated environment and you were a sim? What would that be like? And that was just funny because we started.
And how would you have gotten in to be a sim? Wouldn't you have
Right.
known you were going in to be in a computer program? Maybe we're
Well, that's
all
just it.
doing the total recall thing and we're all in a chair somewhere
Right.
or a handful of
and
us.
suddenly and
We're at
suddenly there's
somebody's
clues.
we're at
Yeah.
somebody's birthday party and we're like, yeah, let's go experience a new reality for a lifetime. Ends up being an hour long. Come out, somebody's wife's
But
pissed because they spent the money.
the Mandela Effect items are a clue, just another clue that something more is going on than our five senses tell us. And we've had other clues before that. I mean, the double slit experiment shows a good example that there's something more going on here than just what we normally, because that just proves the observer effect. And
I
there's so
love
many
that.
things like that, so many things that are clues that there's something more going on here.
I love that. The observer, that we've seen that over and over again. How many times does that have something
Right.
to do with it? With the girl I talked to down in Mississippi, she was a barmaid. She started talking about her TV show that she gets on her phone or whatever. And I said, oh, she said, what about Sex in the City? I said, hey, you got a pen and a piece of paper? And I wrote down 10 questions and I said, here, answer these. And she got half right, half wrong. But Sex in the City, she put down as Sex in the City. And I said, that's your favorite TV show? And she says, yeah. I said, well, look it up. Tell me what it's called. I said, and she wasn't. She was busy. I said, it's Sex and the City. It's never been Sex in the City. And she says, no, I know for a fact, 100% sure it's in.
That's
So
awesome.
finally, she gets a chance and looks it up. And it was and
Yeah.
she's blown away. Absolutely. First off, she couldn't even get it on her phone, which she's swearing it's always been there. How this is so weird. She kept going, this is so weird. And I'm cracking up because I'm thinking, wow, I just made you aware of this and you just shifted. The girl just shifted right then and
Well,
there.
that's good that she was affected too, because so often they just get updated and they're like, oh, well, what's next?
Well, she might have got a second chance because while that was going on, she kept going to her phone and said, "I'm going to talk to you tomorrow. I'm going home, and it's going to be Sex in the City at my house." And and but she was affected then. I was affected by Sex in the City. I'm going to say sometime in August, mid-August, from Jesse Spott's video with Sex in the City interview with a vampire. They were the ones that I just took off with, and I was affected by that a year or some later, and she was affected by it then. So to me, that was the observer, the quantum thing, where people can notice things at different times. And when we come on here and we go, "Hey, uh, life, the L in life changed, in life serial," I may not have noticed that right away. But I do think I was walking through the store looking at it, and I laughed and I said, "Well, there's no point." I immediately said, "Oh, they changed the logo." And I just moved on. I've been into the Mandela Effect for years, and I'm still saying, they just changed the logo. It's like, it's like, or I laugh and go, "Oh, look, it's probably a Mandela Effect," and I just
Yeah,
let it go.
I thought for a long time before realizing what was going on, I just thought logos were changing because I was noticing some of the changes, but I assumed it was just the logo change.
Sure, with the S coming off, that's less ink they got to use. Take a dash out of Kit Kat, that's less ink. They're saving money, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
for me, for me, it was the staples. I saw the Staples L one day, and this was probably around 2008 or 9. I was with my son. I mean, it's funny how some of these you just remember so clearly and all the events connected with it. So my son and I are leaving Staples. I'm getting in the car. I look back at the store and I see that L with the staple, and I say to my son, "Huh, they changed the sign." Seems like a lot of trouble to go through for such of a small change, but I get it. I said, "I get it. They're making the L a staple now."
huh. But and that's the thing. Right before the staple thing happened, and this happened to me twice. I can't remember what the other one was. One of the colors were changing red to blue, and I was driving by Staples, and I took walking by actually, and I took a big picture of the Staples sign. I held it for a couple of weeks, deleted it off my phone because I needed room, and that's when the staple changed. But I already deleted the picture. Not that it would have mattered because a lot of pictures don't stick.
Oh, they don't. Let me tell you. I was behind a bumper sticker a few weeks ago. Like I was within 6 feet of this bumper sticker. This car stopped in front of me, and it's a big Hillary bumper sticker, but she only had one L. And I'm looking at it thinking, "Oh my God, that's great residual. Look at that. It's Hillary with one L." And the lady turns and I turn right too, and I go up in the next stop sign. I'm looking at her. I'm looking at this bumper, and I'm like, "This is awesome. I am looking at a 1L Hillary." So I started snapping pictures. A couple lights later, I have to go off to the restaurant I was going to go in, and I pull the picture up on my phone, and the picture goes to 2Ls, just like that.
Oh my God. Is that actually one of the changes you actually seen happen right in front of
That
you?
was recent. That was just last month.
Wow. I've
Yeah.
only seen the one thing actually change before my eyes. It was the Grateful Dead pin. It's called Steal Your Face.
Uh-huh.
Me and my friend Colby are sitting in the house. He's my ex roommate. We're sitting there. I'm talking with about it, and he's just laughing, going, "Dude, I knew about this when you lived here." I said, "What are you talking
Uh,
about?" He says, "Yeah, the he says the guy, I can't remember his name now, and I just looking up. I'm going to say James, the guy that had the shooting, the Batman movie theater shooting."
uh-huh.
He said, "Yeah, that guy was studying the Mandela Effect big time." I was like, "Oh
Really?
shit." That's what he says. I don't know where he got
Huh.
that info.
Huh.
Um, he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I got this pin that I bought last year. Just let me show it to you." And he gets it, he brings it over, and he sets it down, and we're both kind of looking at it. I'm going on my phone, or he's going on his phone to look to find the actual pin, and the thing is changing colors right in front of both of us, red to
Wow.
blue, blue to red, red to blue. And we're like, he's like, you see that? I'm like, you see that? He goes, yeah.
That's
It's
interesting
messed
that
up.
red to blue switches a lot, and it's also like merging to purple, but there's a lot of effects around that. Red and blue, purple, and then orange and red as well.
Orange and green, I thought it was.
Well,
I
like with Oscar Mayer, those colors
oh,
have
I didn't
switched a
know about
lot.
the
Yeah,
colors.
yeah.
I thought it was just the Meyer Mayer thing.
No, just I mean, well, it's not that particular thing, but a lot of things with those colors have been affected, I noticed.
Oh. Yeah. So what was that? The red pill, the blue pill? What did you take?
Yeah.
If you take the blue pill, you go back, or you stay in Wonderland. If you take the red pill, uh, I guess a lot of us took the red pill.
Yeah. Well, have you seen the seat of forgetting and remembering?
No, what is that?
You'll have to look this one up. It's almost like the Georgia Guidestones, but it's a different thing that this artist did, and it's called the seat of forgetting and remembering. And I never heard about it except for a few months ago, and I guess it's really odd because to me it reminds me of the thinker, because to me the thinker is almost like in the seat of forgetting and remembering. And in this thing that's like a little black cube that you're supposed to sit on, I guess, you're surrounded by four columns. And the four columns are like pillars of smoke or whatever, and there's faces of people inside of them. And you also see that with the thinker. If you see where the thinker sits at the gates of hell, behind him is the same type of imagery, which I thought that was interesting. If you study what the the seat of forgetting and remembering is about, it is based on the mandala, right?
Right.
Which is kind of interesting, Mandela and
I
Mandela.
think that has a lot to do with it. That's why I think Mandela name, the Mandela
Yeah,
effect, may have been planted.
and Mandela, yeah. And also it's based on the higher self, which is based on the works of Carl Jung. Have you ever read any of his stuff?
Probably in the 80s.
I think you would like his stuff because you're kind of a little new agey there.
A little
And
bit.
he's
That's what I
often been
say.
ascribed as the father of a lot of new age thought. And that's what this seed of forgetting and remembering is about. I didn't know anything about Carl Jung's work, so I started reading about him. And I'll have to admit, I was going to do a video about this. There's some things that were written about that really do match kind of the experience that I had back in 2016. And it covers things like detachment, where you step outside of yourself and you just kind of observe the world and you in it without a great emotional connection. I went through that phase. I also went through the surrendering process. There's a bunch of things that he listed, and what he's talking about is when you're connecting with. He called it your higher self, but that was just terminology.
Hmm. And I've used that term. I am comfortable with it. My higher Christ self, I'm comfortable with. But that's what I'm comfortable with. Other people are comfortable with other things. I try and stay away from anything that was, say, pushed on me from mainstream. But anyway, continue.
Well,
The
well, check
label
out
kills
that
me, but
seed of forgetting and remembering sometime and see if you find any interesting connections. I found the whole thing with how much it looked like the thinker to me. To me, just the setting reminded me of the thinker, and the thinker is one of my just biggest Mandela effects. That one just blows my mind. How
the thinker's messed up how those pictures with everybody sitting around
oh my
posed the
gosh,
way he was, and yet he's like that. Why would they do that?
and yet that's another hint to people that reality that there's something more going on.
Well,
For
that's
for
good.
all the, it's it's a strong memory in the consciousness of people that it was always fist to forehead. I remember it being fist to forehead, and there's even residual pictures, but people are living in such denial. And there's actually alternate versions of the thinker. And I've only heard one other person say they've seen the alternate version, but I've seen it. I actually mimicked it. For a day, the thinker was holding his chin with the palm of his hand. And that was, it's just one that I saw. And it's just different.
I don't know. What do you do? All the residual, all these things that are changing. So I don't know. I always go towards the whole physical reality is set in these timelines, I'm calling them, and it's just a terminology, and we're flying through it, creating motion and time. That answers a lot of my questions. And then it's also a cop out because it answers every question.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny at my morning stand up yesterday when we were talking about the simulated universe and how none of this might be real. We just think it is. One of the ladies there was talking about avocados at some point of our conversation. And she loved avocados. And I said, "Do you love Haas? Do you love Haas avocados?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "How do you spell Haas?" And she said, Haas. I was like, "Oh, good." I don't even tell. I'm always doing this with her. I don't even tell her where I'm going with it. She was like, "Why are you always asking me how to spell this?"
Yeah, well, most people around here always say, "I don't know." They look at me and go, "I don't know," or they'll look at me and they'll go, "It depends on what timeline I'm in." They just get back to work.
Well, it's funny because that lady has brought up Bragg's before in our conversations, and
I got to get me one
she
of
said
those for
Bragg's.
I got to get me one of those for the collection. That's a 100%er for me.
Oh yeah, and she brought up Charles Schultz, and she even asked me, "How do you spell Schultz?" And I said, "Yeah, Schultz, Schultz." And then yesterday morning, I found out one of my coworkers went to school with Joel Osteen. And she had a picture. She had a picture of her as a little kid with them in the class, which I had to clarify. Okay, is it Olstein or is it Osteen? And she said Osteen. But I thought it's just funny, this little stand-up group and all the Mandela effects that keep coming up.
Yeah, that's strange. It's funny when I try and get away from it, Mandela effects come up. I just a couple comes in, sits down. I decide, nah, I'm not going to bother these people. Let them just enjoy their night or whatever.
Yeah. I bring this stuff up at work, but I don't tell them. I include them into what I'm getting at.
Oh wow! I give them everything in 10 minutes flat, and they're just sitting there with their jaw hitting the ground, going, "I need more drinks."
Oh, that's a good number that's watching right now. 23.
I got 30. It says.
Do you? Oh, I'm looking at it on the computer.
Okay.
So it's probably a delay.
That's good. Let's keep it going. I do want to mention Scarab Performance is going to be on Lone Eagle's channel. A couple hours after I get off. I think it's 9 o'clock 9 o'clock Mountain. I think he's going to be on Lone Eagle. So, unless you want to hang out for another 6 hours or so, I'm thinking I'll catch a couple links and then go catch their show.
Are you going to get a nap?
I will a little later on. I'm not ready to go anywhere yet, unless you are.
No, just whenever you are, I'm fine. Okay. But I don't have to be to work for a few more hours. So,
are you going to be getting some sleep before that?
Yeah, I might. We'll see. We'll see what kind of time allows. But yeah, Scarab, he's on the computer all the time. He's always going live, and I swear that guy never sleeps.
He's got to be sleeping now. He'd be here.
Yeah.
And I'll invite him in at the end of the show. I'll invite everybody's email I got. I really want to get some of my friends from back east on here. I don't know how that'll go. I know they're affected, but they're also wrapped up in physical reality. The one friend, Don, he uh, he was one of the ones that studied the JFK assassination with me, and he swears there were 6 people in the car when he studied it. I think he
Hmm.
may still have the tape. He
Yeah.
may be the one that ended up with it. I
Huh.
think I took it from the casino and gave it to him. He may still have it. And he said there
Hmm.
was 6, there is 6, and he just started laughing. He goes, "I get it, I get it. We shifted into 2 different timelines. That's all." He's like totally okay with it because there's
You
other
know, I've
things that
also
he's totally affected by.
with the flip flops, I've also wondered if these things have flip flopped back and forth a lot in my life, which would explain dual memories. It would also explain why sometimes there are these vivid memories of it being the way it you know the way it is right now, and also having been different because I know vividly seeing a number of flip flops and being there for the reversals. There's the Flintstones and the Houston. We have a problem, and
That flip flop, sure,
yeah, for
which was
me,
really
Vix,
strange because Houston, we had a problem doesn't make any sense, right?
right? Yeah, that is a bizarre one. I
And,
remember when we were talking about that one as a Mandela effect. I was watching the Apollo 13 clips, and Tom Hanks was saying it. He was saying, "Houston, we've had a problem,"
oh
and
wow,
uh, and then it switched, and now Tom's saying, "Houston, we have a problem," which ought to be a clue that something's up because according to the historical record, the historical tape, it says, "Houston, we've had a problem."
right,
But we know that with when they made the Apollo 13 movie, that Ron Howard was very into every the details being exact. You know, he's really into the authenticity of it. So it would make sense that he would get it right, not incorrect.
right, absolutely. And what's the other thing with the moon landings? One small step for
Oh yeah, for one small step for
man.
man, one
Man.
giant leap for mankind, and now it's a man.
And I have these books up here on this shelf. I just happened to be glancing at the other day, and I pulled the one out. Said 1969. I pull it out, looking up the moon landing, and it had the quote there. And I'm reading it, and I'm going, "Come on, don't say it." It said "Amen."
Isn't that something?
I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, yeah. And you know, if I were younger, I might question more whether or not it was this way or that way, but I've been around way too long. And it's always been one way for me my whole life. And then the last decade, all this stuff's just been
But you see
scrambled.
what that
Everything's
is,
so
right?
different.
You see what that change is for me. It changed from uh, mankind,
Yeah,
man as in plural,
yeah.
okay, to a man. Um, it went from plural to singular. When I did a video early on, one of my earlier videos. I'm saying, what's more important, flat Earth or Mandela effects that are changing, and what are the changes mean in the Mandela effects? Um, I see a lot of products going from plural to singular, a lot of names with the S's dropping off. Um, and I said, hey, what if this is for you individually to deal with? And I hate that because I don't hate anything. I dislike that because to me, the collective thing, it's part of the collective as well. So I broke that down to for us to create collectively, we're going to need to figure it out individually first so that we can create properly. We have to keep our thoughts straight and right and proper, and our actions proper and right, and fight off the negative feelings that are constantly coming in, trying to get us to be negative, upset. And whether it's chemtrails or the news or whatever it is, I'm quite sure if you're conscious of it, you can thwart it away. You can thwart it off.
I've
You
seen
know,
some things add an S too. So you got
some
some that go singular, but then some things get an S.
And when they
Like
get the S, I've noticed that it's always the apostrophe S. True?
I don't know. What is
Oh,
Cliff's
okay.
Notes? Does that
Oh,
have an
that I don't
apostrophe?
know. I don't
I'd
know.
have to look.
Let's look it up
But
right
that's a
now.
big one for me. For it to be Cliff's Notes sounds so retarded.
Let's see.
It's always been Cliff Notes.
I know. It was always Cliff Notes,
Right.
and I'm looking it up, and no, there's no apostrophe on that. It's not showing it anyway. But that's the only one I haven't seen where the S was added
And then
that didn't
Tidy
have an
Cats did a
apostrophe
flip.
S.
We saw Tidy
Yes, it did.
Cats go to Tidy Cat and then
And
come
then
back
back.
again.
I saw that. But see, now that was weird because I was on the East Coast. I was out here in Colorado, and I can't say I saw it, but for me, it was always Tidy Cats, plural.
Yeah.
I just knew that. And when and I'm like, I must have seen it or something. I must have been, because I know
Well,
I
they
was
were doing
thinking about
videos
that.
about it when it was Tidy Cat. They were doing videos saying it's supposed to be Tidy Cats. And then it just switched back, and
And
people are going, "What the heck's going on?"
I went to the other side of the country. I was on the East Coast and it was Tidy Cat at my mom's house.
Yeah.
And it was when I was trying to, another one of those phases I was going through when I was saying, all right, I'm not chasing Mandela effects. I'm not going to look at them anymore. I don't care. And then boom, there it is, Tidy Cat right in my face. And I just started laughing. I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
back to
That's funny.
Colorado and I decide I'm going to get a cat. And then I decide, no, I'm going to get two cats. Boom, Tidy Cats. And that was before I bought these two. The Tidy Cats was just flip flop.
Yeah. And that's a big flip flop. A lot. Just about everybody seems to remember that flip flop. But when it comes to VIX, that was more unique for me. I was looking at VICS, and people were saying it's supposed to have a K, and then it switched back, and it's got
It is
the K
supposed to have
again.
a K. Oh, it has the K again?
It has the K now, yeah, but I went through a time period where it was just VICS, and that's all you could
Really?
find. There was no such thing as a VIX spelled with a
Oh
K. It
my
was
God.
so strange. And then
Um,
Hanna-Bera was really simplified to Hanabera. That was it.
oh no.
It
Is
it
it still
seems
that
like
way or did it switch back
no,
to
it's it's
NN?
it switched back, and the Hanna-Bera is longer. And then Cocoa Puffs was just COCO, and it switched back now to COA. It seems like I was in a reality for a while where words were very abbreviated and spelled incorrectly. It was just an more extreme version of that.
That's the thing. There was now 2 years ago, I'm saying September, 3 years ago, 2000, September 2015, October, November, December 2015, on the Mandela Effect site.
Hmm.
Somebody came on talking about if you see certain shifts, certain things change, it's telling you what dimension you're in.
Hmm.
And their signposts. Now I got the signpost thing saying, okay, it's a signpost that you shifted. But he was actually saying you can pinpoint where and what
Hmm.
timeline you're in. I'm like, that could be pretty convenient. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
right.
I'm married to Joan. Cool. All right. And then, and I live in that big house. Nice. I hope I stay here a while. And you shift, and it's like, damn. That's,
Well,
um,
I did hear somebody say that if you really focus on becoming an evil person yourself, you think dark, you go dark, you just really go, just embrace the dark side, that your reality will shift more and more to the more abbreviated versions of things. Words will get shorter and misspelled even more and more. And as you go back up towards the light and embrace the light side, then the words start becoming more and more normal. That was just a theory that I heard right off in the beginning a long time ago. And I can't remember who said it. It was just one of those comments that people post.
Yeah, when I first got into this, there's quite a few channels that I look at and just aren't there anymore. These
Hmm.
people got me into it. I'd watch their Mandela Effect videos. In 15, there was could have been 5, 6 channels that were doing them.
And they're gone.
And not that they're gone, I still see them on there, but they're not doing anything with Mandela effects and stuff.
Yeah.
So I find that strange. But that was, you were talking, I wanted to give hidden knowledge that credit for the Picard one. I don't
Hmm.
know if I finished that sentence. Made me think of that
Yeah,
because he did bring it out. I want to try and get him on the show one time. I think that'd be neat.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Uh,
So how do you do this live thing? I've got to figure that out. You click
huh.
live, and does it ask you if you want to invite somebody through Hangouts?
I have a great guy that helps me out with the electronic stuff. You might know him. His name's Scarab Performance. He's
Yeah,
him and Jesse Spots walked me through it. It was Jesse
yeah.
Spots all afternoon, helping me with hooking things up and troubleshooting, and then uh, an hour or two later, it was Scarab helping me out with stuff. Both Jesse was with the lighting, and
Yeah.
that was funny. I was like, yeah, without these guys, I would have really been a mess. So far, I think this might be. I mean, I had all good shows, good information came out on a lot of them because of the people I got on. But so far, the only bad thing that happened here, and Noble's in the room, so you'll have to go back and watch when the microphone falls on my head twice. But that's what I keep thinking with all this stuff. I keep thinking that, if the powers that shouldn't be can manipulate reality, we should be able to too. And I think it has a lot to do with your focus and what you're concentrating on. If you're focusing on the bills, that's what your life's going to be. It's where's your focus? Mine recently has been on nothing but work and the good vibrations and energies in here, and just the way things have been going. So, and I'm also experiencing things I created in my past, if that makes sense. Back when I was all into the new age stuff,
Hmm.
I, I felt like, oh, I can create my own reality, and I would put stuff out. And now that I really feel like I have the formula, and I don't like calling it a formula because it's basically just becoming a desire, and I
Hmm.
know where that desire is supposed to go. And if it doesn't work out, I know it immediately if it's not going to work.
Hmm.
But I'll do that, and if it works, it works. Where was I going with this? Like,
You're creating things that you'd created in the past, or
yes. And I'm actually experiencing some of those things now, and I don't necessarily want those things now, but
mm,
I built so much energy up in creating and putting that I had that
hmm,
focus was so strong of certain things that I'm actually experiencing now, that I'm like, all right, yeah, well, I wanted this, so I'll experience it. And I'm like, well, it's not
mm,
working out exactly, but these are things I remember trying to create in the past, and they're happening, and I'm going through them. And I figure, all right, even if I don't desire these things now, I got to go through the motions. I
mm,
created it, so I'm
yeah,
I'm wrapped up in the things that I've already created, because I keep thinking, well, recently I'm like, I'm starting to get bored. It's starting to become a routine, and I
hmm,
want to get off the routine thing. I want to do different things, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, not be produced.
yeah.
Trust me. I don't know. I
Yeah, I
don't
look
know.
forward to reading the book that you're going to do, and
I'm excited too.
yeah.
Photo left the conversation. He was in here earlier. I should have brought it up, but he sent me emails of the book cover.
Oh,
I
good.
and
Yeah.
I'm hoping the chapter art as well. This way I could be done with it. I have not had a chance to look at it, and all I really want to do is pack the thing up and send it off.
Hmm.
And it should be any day. It's just a matter of me getting up and doing it at this point.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he has all those things done. I don't know. I really should open that email and check it out.
Yeah.
Stinks now because every time I think about something that should be, I'm like, oh, I really want to put that thought in the book. I'm not writing it down. The book is finished. I mean, I almost said apologized. I've said enough times that I don't know what it is. but because of these experiences, this is what I think it is, and I'm probably wrong. I mean, you know, it's something so much more. Or is it
Mhm.
something so simple that, we were talking about how, yeah, maybe we're shifting through these movie frames or whatever, or maybe this is what it's supposed to be and physical reality actually is changing. I mean, that's tough for me to take
Mhm.
because I think I could debunk that. If that's the case, why did I see things change in front of my eyes? Oh, it's because you did mushrooms back in the 80s. Wait a minute. I didn't do enough mushrooms then to experience anything. Why am I going to
Mhm.
experience it now?
Yeah, I've never
Um,
done a drug in my life, so when I first started seeing these changes and telling people about it, they'd say, "Oh man, whatever you're using, I want some." And I was like, "I don't, never used anything, just
I
seeing
get that a
reality
lot.
change."
And I get that from the angry people that
Yeah,
Photo mentioned. There's people out there that you get that immediately. It's just misremembering. Google said so.
yeah, cool. That's the funny part is how many people just go directly to Google before checking their heart, checking their mind, checking what they know to be true. It's straight to Google, and whatever Google says, that's the update.
Yeah, how many times can you say, uh, oh, I don't know. That update
I
thing
found
gets
that
me.
true. I found that true for remembering things when Life Matrix came on and said, "Hey, the Mustang logo's changed." And I said, I'm not going to look at the picture. I'm not going to instantly go to the internet and see what it looks like. I'm going to capture that image of what it was in my mind. I'm going to look in my heart. I'm going to look in my mind. I'm going to look and see what is it that I truly remember it being. And I grabbed that image. And then I looked at what it currently is. I was like, yeah, it's very different from what I remember it being. And what's really funny, and this is how reality will kind of add a little twist to it, is the image in my mind did exist as like a prototype or only 1 year, like in the early 60s, Mustang had the image that was in my mind. And that's the only way it's existed in this reality. But I think it's funny that I would have this clear image of that thing. And that was the way I always knew it to be. And in this reality, it was just like a little temporary logo that they made.
And
But
but
if
how's
I
that
hadn't have gone
memory?
to my mind's eye first, I wouldn't have captured it like that and wouldn't
How,
have known so well.
so do you have a trigger for it?
Yeah.
Because I like with Chevrolet, I was walking down the street waiting for my car to get fixed or whatever, and I'm just walking around in the parking lot, and I'm looking at the word Chevrolet, and I'm like, Chevrolet, Chevrolet. How do you pronounce that? I guess the E is silent.
Uh,
I mean, I was heavy on that back then. I
right.
mean, and
Right.
90s, and I'm like, oh, it's just so weird. So I know that that's the way it was spelled.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the change was. I don't know when it happened. You mentioned,
I have like a ghost of a memory on that, on the spelling and the Chevy and the shit with the E. But the slanted all the way through is so much stronger for me.
oh yeah,
That is just an no doubt in my mind. That thing was slanted all the way through.
absolutely. You mentioned E. I was looking at Tennessee today,
Yeah.
and it looks better to me with one E on the end.
Yeah. It feels
And
natural to me with one E,
yes,
but
yes, I don't know one way or the other. You mentioned Life Matrix, and he put out a shout for me the other day. We were talking about how it's quantum, and the observer may see when, they might see the change at a different time. And he mentioned
yes.
this. He
Yeah.
noticed Victoria's Secret,
Yep.
and for me, it was always Victoria Secret, and I think it was dated June or July when I did the video. And there's so many of these videos that I've put out that have these little Mandela Effect things that might have been mentioned on the Mandela Effect site. That people are like, "Oh, that's new," and I needed to realize it may be new for them.
Yeah, that's right. I've experienced that with some people saying that for them, Flintstones just switched. I was like, what do you mean it just switched? And, it'll be a year later and people are experiencing things. It is time can be independent.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that, and I think that's pretty big. That's a big thing to
Yeah,
keep in
that's a big
mind.
piece of the puzzle. And for me, I
Because
remember it being Victoria's Secrets, but now it's Victoria's. But I remember
remember
it being Secrets.
with
Yeah,
S on the end,
yeah,
Victoria's Secrets. Interesting.
yeah.
Victoria's Secret. I
And
think.
there's a hospital here in my town that's a children's hospital, right?
Yeah.
I've had three kids, been to the hospital many times with them. For me, it's always been called Cooks with an S, Cooks. It's always been Cooks Children Hospital.
Cook's
And
Children
yeah,
Hospital.
just Cooks Children Hospital. And I
And
always thought
now,
it's a good thing it has the S there, or it would sound pretty inappropriate. Cook children, you know.
well, I
So,
would think it would be Cook Children's Hospital.
well, that's what it is now. It's Cook Children's
Ah,
Hospital.
gee, that makes more
But
sense to me.
for me, it was always Cook's Children Hospital. Now, if you go around with just interviewing people, and I did this when this first happened, I would ask everybody around me, say 30 people, and every single one of them would say Cooks. I would say, "What's the name of the children's hospital here in town?" Cooks. Everybody would say Cooks. Every single one without fail.
Until
And
the
I
computer program catches on or
right, so I
whatever.
wanted the year since I did that. It's been about a year now, so I thought, oh wow, and went around and surveyed people if I would still get the same unanimous answer of it being Cooks, or if it would be half and half, or what would it be now? And I was on the phone with Fiverr today, and we were talking about this, and I said to somebody who was passing by me, I was, "Hey, could you tell me what's the name of that children's hospital?" And they said Cooks. So I said, "Well, we got one down. I just got to keep going with that." But I said the funny thing about it is there's like street names after it, right? Well, there's in this town, there's a street called Cook, and there's another street called Cooks. So you got both of them here.
They're telling me my mic is scratchy. I'm going to unplug again. Pop it back
It
in.
might be a good time for me to end it anyway.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I'll tell you what. Thanks a lot for coming in. I was going
yeah.
to invite a bunch of other people in, see if they pop in. Keep going for a little say hi to you, unless you just want to take off.
Yeah, I better get a little sleep in before I go to work and
Well, maybe I
try to
will end it.
start the day. Yeah.
Maybe I will end it here. It was a good talk. It was
But
a
yeah.
successful show. I want everybody to remember, get up at 9 a.m. Mountain Time to see Scarab performance on Lone Eagle's channel. Well, it's a good plug for him, right?
Yeah, that's a good plug.
And thanks, Guy, for making it a good show.
Yeah, thank you.
I
We'll have to do
appreciate
this
it.
again when my wife's out of town.
Yeah,
Hey,
well, I don't know.
on that note, for all those Mandela affected people out there that are in some type of relationship, I don't know if you have this, but spouses that are not Mandela affected to the same degree will often get a little suspicious that you're up to no good. You know what I mean? Because you've got all these conversations going on with all these people that you have something in common with, but you don't really have that with your spouse. My wife the other day wanted to see my text to see if I was cheating on her.
Ow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't.
Oh, on that
No,
note, she found nothing. So guy's still good.
of course not. I'm surprised she's suspicious now and not before the effects when you were such an ass. Isn't that what you
Right.
said?
Exactly.
That would make more sense.
Oh, anyway, y'all have a good night. This is a good day, and this is fun. We'll do this again sometime.
Yes, we will, definitely. I hope she's not leaving town that often.
Well, she travels. She likes to
Oh, okay.
travel. Right now, she's with my daughter picking out wedding dresses because my daughter's getting married. So
Oh, congratulations.
yeah, yeah, just Yep.
Physical
All kinds of fun.
reality.
All
Physical
kinds of fun.
reality is going to set in.
Yep. Just doing the old physical reality thing.
Yeah. All right,
All right,
guy.
man. We'll see you
Thanks a
later.
lot
All
for
right.
being on the
Bye-bye.
show. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Plan on doing it again next week, but I'm also thinking about just not making it any special time. I keep saying that. We'll see. I notice people just jump on. I just, and I'm not going to invite other people on. I'm just going to end it here. Maybe next time. I like doing that. But next week, we'll see. It might be later. It might be earlier. I'll just pop on. I like to just jump here. All right, everybody. Good night. Have a great day.